zone's not treating anyone too nicely.
It's been a fun WCS though. Shout out to all those casters and personalities over there. All right, Parting. Getting the Parting Award. It's a new award that was created today. No one else has ever gotten 10 consecutive. That means back-to-back round of 16s, at least round of 16. He's never gotten worse than round of 16 in 10 GSL seasons. That's 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay,
Incredible consistency. I mean, this guy has been at the top in Korea for an incredibly long period of time. He hasn't been at the tippy top. He hasn't been like getting finals over and over like someone like Su has. But he is still an incredibly consistent pro gamer.
Yeah, he's been streaming a lot. Chinese streaming service right now. He's got a lot of strategies out there that might be studyable by these players if they're preparing for him specifically. And he is on YoeFlashWolves still technically, but finding practice for someone like him who's not living in a team house currently, definitely a little bit more difficult than someone like Gumiho, who's got great Protoss to practice with all the time, and also because he used to be really close to CJ Entis, no doubt has a lot of great practice partners he can call upon in CJ as well.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I'm just kind of worried about his mindset right now. He's only focusing on this TVP. It doesn't seem to be his best matchup in terms of results so far, but I don't know, I look at his face and I see a face of, there's a lack of confidence there, looking kind of tired and just, I don't know. We'll see though. We'll see how his play comes out here today.
Something else to note about Gumiho is, we saw that stat just briefly there on the screen, it's his 12th GSL round of 16. So some of these players we see today have incredible history in GSL. They've been playing for so long. They've been doing well. They've been getting top finishes for years.
Well, guys, it looks like we're getting close to starting up the first game of the night. Let's take a look at our maps for this Parting versus Gumiho matchup. It's going to be Terraform first, and then we go into Coda and Cactus Valley.
All predetermined, so no loser picks. All going to be based on these vetoes. We see an Iron Fortress and, of course, a Bonnie Research Station banned from Parting. And Gumiho skipping out on Expedition Lost and Echo. Yeah,
I kind of like this map pool so far for Gumiho, to be honest. Can get aggressive on these first two maps. There's a lot of different routes to drop and put pressure on the third base of the Protoss. Whereas that last map, going to a big macro game against Parting, he's not like known as the most fantastic macro Protoss in the world.
Absolutely. I got to agree with you there, man. I think the map pool definitely goes to Gumiho's favor here.
Well, guys, the map is all loaded up. Let's jump into game number 1 right now on Terraform between Parting and Gumiho.
핫6 GSL 시즌 3.
Here on the top left, in the red, the Protoss player. He is
YoeFlashWolves 파팅.
Not going to Taiwan tomorrow if he loses. His opponent to the bottom right in blue, the Terran player known as the Towel Terran.
MVP Gumiho.
In the foreign scene, but more so known as the Nine-Tailed Fox by Korean fans.
Yeah. When you look at Parting these days, especially today, do you get the sense that he's matured a bit or almost like calmed down almost?
It's almost like he's looking back on his career, looking at what he's accomplished, and he knows that he's not as good as he once was. Because he was once almost undoubtedly the best player in the world. Wow, yesterday he put the ring on her finger. Archon mode engaged.
Oh,
Sick.
That is awesome. Congratulations, guys, and welcome to the studio. So glad to have you guys down.
Thank you guys so much for coming. But going back, into this topic, I feel like when you're someone like Parting, who I feel like for a brief time, Parting in 2013 and even parts of 2012 was the best player in the world. It was him and Life that were really up at the top. Really cool Gumiho sign here as well. When you think back, if you think back to how some players who are at one moment in time considered the best by their fans at least. There's two Protoss players that come to mind. I feel like Parting, the more successful of the two, but if you look at Parting and Deer and how the two of these guys actually look at this sort of situation, Parting is like matured quite a bit.
Well, sorry to cut you off multiple times here. In the GSL, we have so many fans down that make a bunch of fan signs. It says, Parting has no energy. Why doesn't he just drink a Hot 6? This tournament, of course, sponsored by Hot 6.
Sure. I've got one with me on my desk right now. If you come to Korea, definitely drink one. They've done a lot for esports. Before this game gets cranked up again, I just want to kind of finish off this point of,
go ahead.
You look at Parting, like, he looks back at his career and kind of smiles, I feel like, and he was one of those confident players, kind of trash talker. But even now, he's just like, that's not me anymore. I just want to show good games. And, you know, we're at the end of Heart of the Swarm here, about to go into Legacy of the Void. So I kind of feel like at this point he's ready to relax. He's gone into full-time streaming. And obviously that makes it a lot harder to be a pro gamer. You look at someone like Deer, it feels like he never quite recovered from falling from being one of the best players in the world for a brief time. Maybe not the best two examples, but just thinking of Protoss players who were once way better than they are now.
Yeah. I mean, we're coming to kind of a changing of the guard, or some kind of turning in the era here where, you know, all Heart of the Swarm is going to end, as you mentioned, and it's going to be a new face of Starcraft next year. It's going to be very exciting. We'll get to see which players stay and you know, continue to be very consistent, which of them fall off, what kind of new players we do get in here that are more attuned to the Legacy of the Void kind of style of play, which seems to be more micro-based, you know, just more small engagements.
Sure. There's been a lot of discussion about the macro mechanics. There was a community update posted just this morning about those kind of getting reverted back to Heart of the Swarm. Let's see if this is going to be Blink. It looks like it absolutely will be. And off of just one gateway for now, we'll probably see two added in just a moment here.
Oh. I like Blink on this map, even if you don't go all in it on this map. I mean, it's still good for pressuring the front, you know, forcing out a bunch of bunkers here. There's a pretty wide choke at the natural, and also pretty wide ledge to jump straight into the main if you are going for that more aggressive style.
It looks like he's just going to go straight into robotics, so more of the pressure type that you were talking about. Gumiho, meanwhile, cranking out 4 Marines at a cycle with a very fast stim, started at like 5:15 or so. So it's really, really early. He's getting a fast eBay up as well, so he can have a quick +1. He's going to be safe, obviously, against Oracle play. But the +1 is going to be kind of a follow-up here. Because he cranked out these barracks so fast, he should be able to force a Nexus cannon to be used at the natural and, you know, really put Parting on a back foot. If Parting is too aggressive with these Stalkers, he's going to run into a wall with all these Marines.
Well, he's going to be taking his 3rd and 4th gas here, so nothing too overly aggressive here from Parting. He is going to have some kind of transition points. As we were saying before, probably going to put on a bit of pressure anyway with this Blink, adding those 2 extra gates. This Reaper is going to come into the main, but he has not seen anything.
Yeah. Just a bad angle there. Good placement on that Twilight Council by Parting. And I feel like at this point, Gumiho knows there is some sort of tech, but it's not Oracle because he would have seen it by now. And it could be DTs. And I like this turret here at the natural because that's what I'd be thinking right now. It's like, is he going to DT drop me, or is this like a late Blink? What is going on?
Yeah. Kind of covering all of his bases right now just to make sure, not overly making too many bunkers, just one, getting out enough Marauders to deal with any kind of Blink pressure as well. There's this one sneaky SCV going for a later scout. Did scout the probe out there, but no move out was made. He's just playing very defensive in his base.
Parting wants to deny this scout on the 3rd Nexus, but of course he's unable to do so. It would be crazy if Parting took the 3rd Nexus at the exposed mineral line. Meanwhile, going to harass this group of Bio. If he forces a stim here, it's huge, but just kills a few Marines.
Yeah, and it looks like Gumiho may want to put on a bit of pressure himself. He does have stim and combat shields completed.
Parting's follow-up here is going to be going for a Warp Prism into an Immortal. Warp Prism can give him a lot of harass potential, but these Stalkers do not spot this army. He's got no Observer to the north, and his entire Stalker force is going to be out of position. He has very few Zealots, if any. In fact, he has 0 Zealots. He only has 3 sentries. This Bioforce will not be repelled without the help of a Mothership Core. He could actually try to cut these Stalkers off.
He's going to try to break down the rocks here, and they will go down. He's going to have to blink over these minerals.
Oh man, this is such a bad position. He actually might just go for this attack here on top of this Gateway army. If you can call it an army, it's 3 Stalkers and 2 sentries. Many of them already going down. Probes off the line. A ton of damage being done here. Already 7 probes killed.
Yeah, just walking straight in there. Gumiho with some fantastic positioning on this map. He is going to lose all of his units, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it ended up being worth it overall. He really went deep on that. I would have been okay with just forcing the Nexus Cannon and backing off. Now this backstab attack here with Parting's Warp Prism does have quite a lot of damage potential, especially if Gumiho moves out again.
Oh, man. Yeah, he actually has not scouted that pylon, and the War Prism is coming in to cancel that third base.
He also has the Stalkers coming to follow up as well, so if Gumiho tries to save this, he might actually just simply be able to snipe it with these Stalkers. Forcing a stim, lifting up, drawing the bio away again. And here comes that Stalker army, going to kill the SCV at least, to delay this CC even further. And back at home, he's got his own third Nexus coming up. This is going to be an easy cancel here.
Yeah, and even forcing some of the units to come into the natural as well. And keep in mind that War Prism is not dead just yet. Could go for another Warpin in the main.
And down goes the Zealots, but trading decently with the bio. The Stalkers are still out there. The Warp Prism is still alive. And Gumiho doesn't really have any tools in this game anymore. He really committed to a heavy bio push. Look, he's got 5 barracks here. He's not even really using all of them. He's very flustered right now. Parting is in his head. And because he lost that early bio force, basically all of it, there's not much he can do pressure-wise in this game. Colossi are going to be outranged, is nearly done. The extra gates, the third Nexus. And the Mothership Core is going to have enough for another Photon Overcharge. So what is Gumiho really going to be able to do here in this game to find damage? That's the question.
Yeah, it's going to be quite hard. As I was saying before, if he did want to find damage here in the mid-game, he would have to go for some drops possibly into the main, or maybe just, you know, stim in some units towards that third base. Parting really going to have to focus some of his vision over there. You can already see a bunch of pylons going down. It looks like even maybe a probe is... Something's patrolling over there. Maybe just a stalker for now.
It's a probe, you're right. And, you know, keep in mind, these are the first 2 medevacs for Gumiho. He's now gone into a second starport, even just getting triple medevacs out because he had none. Because this is such a late starport, because it was such a big commitment to all those 5 barracks. And the 3 racks commitment with stim and combat shields. So he committed a ton of gas that slowed down his factory, and of course, as a result, slowed down these medevacs. He does have a large bioforce at this moment in time, and if he could find a window into the main, that could be his best opportunity. There are 2 Colossi out on the map. Only 4 Zealots currently, and 3 of them are in the Warp Prism.
Yeah, and this was actually scouted by Gumiho. He has spotted this coming in here, so he will deny it with just 3 Marines.
Ooh, it's low on health, too. He might actually just target it down straight up.
He's going to try to stim it and get it.
Oh, Parting's control is on point.
Yeah, just barely able to get that away.
1 health. Here comes the attack, and there's no Zealots to buffer. And he's actually going to go straight for the Nexus. 2 Colossi coming from the third base, but he's going to lose this. This is a problem. He has no Zealots with his army, so he can't buffer. Even with the blink to chase here, these medevacs will escape. An easy Nexus snipe here. The third base is now also under attack off camera.
Yeah, Parting just having his units totally out of position, not reacting quickly enough, and kind of in an awkward spot now where he has to remake that natural Nexus and just try to defend from here. Whereas Gumiho back at home is just very comfortable getting his macro up.
Yeah, and, you know, see something else on the production tab. You'll see that the +2 is being started, as well as the +1 for Vikings. Well, you canceled that, apparently, but I'll start it for a second. I'll probably restart it in a moment when he has the money again. But the thing I'm trying to know is it's 1-1 upgrades versus no upgrades right now. This Warp Prism will fall. Oops, looks like he accidentally queued those to land. Maybe expecting his Zealot to drop out or something, but Parting adding a Dark Shrine now, a desperate move, but it could be what gets him back into this game. He's going to have to turtle really hard right now. And Gumiho is just cycling through this extra production, adding a few more barracks, getting 2-2 up. He's going to be ahead a whole cycle of upgrades that almost never happens in this matchup.
Yeah. Losing the Warp Prism is annoying as well. If he wants to put on a bit more pressure with the DTs, he's definitely going to need to use a Warp Prism. Remember, there is already a missile turret in the natural. Wouldn't be surprised if there's one at the third base, just in case. This has become more popular over recent times, just adding in a later Dark Shrine for that extra pressure, as well as just using it for defense against drops. So, Parting really going to have to find a way to get in there with those DTs. Maybe just make another pylon up towards that third base, possibly.
The vision coverage here from Parting is immense. It's quite impressive, in fact. So he's always going to know what angle that these drops, these attacks are coming from. But even if you know this is coming with that many medevacs to the north and this Bioforce with a ton of Widowmine support to the south, how can you repel both even if you know it's coming? It's like if you see a nuke coming towards your head, you know, or it's like a nuclear missile's been launched, are you really going to hide under the desk? I don't think it's going to be that effective. Like, how are you going to be able to defend this? Even if you know it's coming, it doesn't mean that you can set up a perfect defense against this much bio.
Yeah, it's kind of the Protoss dilemma if you are going for this big death ball with a bunch of Colossi and just some gateway units, it's really hard to split up your army efficiently against what the Terran is always going to be throwing at you. Like, look at this, 4 drops coming in. It does seem like Parting has enough to push this back, though.
I feel like this is the only situation that's good for Parting. It's like all the units are so split up in this fight that Parting will actually be able to defend all 3 fronts. And because he drops 2 drops in the main base, it's a lot easier for Parting to defend this as well. He gets, you know, shuts down 2 birds with 1 stone, if you will. He sends most of his army into the main base, shuts down both sets of drops. He had just enough units to defend the 3rd base because all of these units were so split up. I feel like almost a more direct attack with the 3rd base with both of the armies and then a drop at the main would have been better, but because he split up so much, Parting shuts this down.
Yeah. Maybe like 1 jab somewhere towards the main and then try to stim in your army, catch some of those, you know, awkward Colossi when they get a bit buggy with the AI on the map, you know, as they're going up and down hills. Maybe catch some of those, but at this point, the splitting from Parting was fantastic. He's got enough Colossi where he can split like 2 and 2, and now he's even going to go on the offensive here, adding a bunch of Archons in as well. Yeah,
you know, part of the evidence of multitasking here affecting Parting's plays, he just simply has not added a Templar Archive, despite having plenty of gas for it. You see a Dark Shrine will get sniped here. He has plenty of gas for it, but you know, he's improvising. He's making Archons out of DTs with some of that gas. And is now going for an attack against Gumiho's army, hoping to take a good engagement. He still has a few Archons of this, but look at this. Vikings with a great angle from the east side. And there's Colossi trying to get their shots up. There's so many Vikings here. And look at that concave of Bio splitting around here. The Archons were stuck at the back. Still a strong Protoss army.
The kiting here from Gumiho is very, very nice. It does seem like he's going to have to back off for now. Going to use a scan here to clean up those DTs and even cancel the warp in from the Warp Prism. But he was able to successfully defend, whereas Parting has lost so many of his heavy tech units during that fight.
There's an upgrade advantage for Gumiho, and I feel like he had the perfect ratio of Medivacs and Vikings with his bio. A heavy Marauder force. You see he stimmed like crazy, but always just barely had enough healing to keep that army alive.
Yeah.
The Archons at the back, as you mentioned, were a big problem there in that fight as well.
Also like an awkward angle there for Parting. A lot of those Vikings coming from the main, pretty protected. A decent blank there from Parting, but overall, just fighting straight into a concave. It's like rule number 1 of engagements in StarCraft 2, something you never want to do.
We're going to see another 4 Marauder drop here in the main base to clean up the few probes that are mining here. There's also a few Widow Mines remaining in the main base as well. Going to pick off a Stalker. He might actually be able to boost away here if that's on cooldown.
I'm going to just focus down that medevac. Gumiho, in the meantime, buying tons of space for him to get up his own 4th base. Parting is going to try to get his 4th base down here in the bottom left, but I don't see that staying up for very long.
Still a fairly low economy game for Gumiho. He had to move his orbital from his main base to take that 4th. And that's what these Zealots are going to figure out right now. There's no base here to harass, but Parting is going to be really hard-pressed to actually defend this 4th base. And look at that, a Colossus out of position at the front, even without Vikings. He's able to take this out. You never want to fight into that line of sight blocker here. Gumiho should easily be able to force a cancel. No cancel, in fact.
Yeah, you said it before, the multitasking here from Parting, kind of failing a bit in this game. Trying to defend multiple different drops. His Colossus gets there first, it gets sniped down, no cancel. He still has not cleaned up the Widow Mines in his main. They've been here for 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's now half the supply of Gumiho. He's getting overwhelmed. 3-3 upgrades finish here as well. A huge warp into Zealots and no more medevac energy. He may stave this attack off, but the damage has been done, and the follow-up is just going to kill him. There's no way he can actually continue to survive these attacks. All these medevacs survive. Storm has only just now finished. The medevacs are getting their energy back up, getting back online, and the second wave of bio should be able to kind of swing the hammer and finish this game.
Should be able to. We'll see how the engagement goes here. He's actually not going to use any of his Templar for Storm. He warps in 6, which is a huge amount of gas, and makes 3 Archons.
I think he knows that timing-wise, he just doesn't have any Templar with energy, and he's not going to have any by the time the fight happens, so I kind of like his choice to make Archons here, but he just types out GG. Gumiho takes game number 1. A bit of a back-and-forth game. The early aggression that he did definitely kind of came back to bite him, but the faster upgrades and the better engagements are what won him out in the end.
Yeah, kind of a shaky game there from Parting. Not the Parting we're used to seeing here. He was talking about a shaky performance in the round of 32 as well. Maybe just, you know, a bit rusty, not feeling it coming into this first game. I would expect him